Hi there. In this video, I want to talk about another thought that I had in the beginning of the year. People always talk about what they want to do more of or how they want to achieve something more than they did the previous year. But they rarely talk about what they should stop doing. And the reality is that unless you stop doing certain things, you're not going to have time to do the things that you really need to be doing. So I was thinking to myself, I need to create a tool that's going to help me to stop saying yes to things that I should say no to. Or in other words, what I mean by that is stop saying yes to the wrong things or stop saying yes too quickly when I really should be saying no. For me, that was exciting because I needed to change the way I worked. So I worked with ChatGPT to come up with what I call a postcard, and I'm going to show you how that worked and why I think it's important, not only for myself, but also could be very important for you. So here's the problem. I realized that most of my bad decisions didn't come because I was careless, but they came because I just didn't pause to think very carefully about what I was engaged in. In other words, I would listen to what the person says and I'll imagine certain outcomes and then I'll feel responsible. And because I know I can, I would tend to say yes, but I really should say no to it. Let me give an example of what I'm talking about. A few years ago, when Bitcoin was still around $6,000 each. Yeah, 6,500 or something like that. But it was, I remember it was 6,000. We used to try and work to put buyers and sellers together. And we as intermediaries were hoping to earn a commission. And you're talking about people who had maybe 600 Bitcoins or 1,000 Bitcoins even at that time. And we were finding it really difficult because what people were telling us and the realities was completely different. We even sponsored somebody to go to Europe to talk to some supposedly person who had some Bitcoins to sell. And that person said to us, okay, if you want me to go, you got to pay for my flight and pay for my hotel. And we paid for all of that stuff. And in the end, we never really sold any. We never really could put a deal together. Why was that? Because I suddenly thought to myself, hang on a minute, Boomy, really. If you had, talking to me, to myself, if I had 1,000 Bitcoins to sell, will I really be working with intermediaries on the street? The answer was no. I'll be working with institutions. I'll be working with well-established people because I would not trust people like myself who were intermediaries to put together a deal, even if they were good people, even if they were honest people. I just won't do it. The moment that realization came to me, I just knew I'd been wasting my time. If I had put all that effort and money into buying the BTCs for which I was trying to sell, I would have made a fortune. But I didn't. I would have been a millionaire times over if I had just bought the Bitcoins instead of, because, yeah, it just didn't work. So that's an example of saying yes to the wrong thing. And you're going to see why in a moment. So what I call this postcard, it's not complicated. It's quite short. It's something I would read before agreeing to anything. It kind of helps me to slow down and decide on principle rather than emotion. So here are some questions that the postcard asks me. Number one is, if it's someone else's vision, are they carrying the risk? Not me. I should not be carrying the risk for you. Secondly, are there any kind of payments or contract or real action already taken place that can be shown to me before I step into the deal. If you cannot show me that you already have some kind of contract, some kind of payment, then, no, you're not ready. You're just talking. Another thing is whether the low pay with high access, I got to see it as a warning. If you're paying me, I don't know, maybe hundreds, but you want access that warrants you paying me thousands, then no, I don't want to get involved because you are crossing the boundaries right there. Well, I'm allowing you to cross the boundaries. Number 4 question is, if time isn't clearly defined, then the cost will always be higher than expected. If I don't clearly tell you that, hey, you can only speak to me between 9 and 5 or whatever, and I just leave it open, then I'm going to have to pay a higher cost. And I don't want to be doing that in 2026. Again, I got to think, how am I feeling about this deal? Do I feel under pressure? Do I feel a sense of urgency on your side? Am I getting irritated? Those are signals that something is misaligned. I remember working with someone and we kind of decided that, hey, I knew that what we had to deliver would take 6 to 9 months. I knew that. But they wanted to do it in a shorter period. And I know I should have just said no, just let it go. Because I know it's not going to work like that. Because they're going to be upset because I would not be able to deliver those outcomes in a shorter time. It's what it takes, 6 to 9 months. It's not going to be done in 3 months. It's not going to be done in 4 months. But they insisted that, no, they wanted to do it in a shorter time. And lo and behold, I was getting irritated. They were feeling unhappy. They felt like, oh, you didn't deliver what you said. But I actually just said no. Sometimes because you want to pay the bills, you are kind of moving the goalpost when you know you should say no. So final question is that, does this strengthen or dilute my purpose or calling? If it's pulling me away from what I'm meant to be building, then it's a distraction. It's not an opportunity. It truly is a distraction. So the line that anchors everything is this: I do not subsidize other people's uncertainty with my own energy, with my own purpose, and with my own vision. And I tell you what, this is why this tool really works. This tool works because it enables me to pause and to cool down and to make things clearer to me before I take an action. So what I'm asking you to do is to create your own version of this postcard so that you can slow down and choose more intentionally, because clarity comes not from doing more, but from pausing long enough to decide what's yours and what isn't. Okay. If you've gained any value out of this, particularly if you found yourself in situations like I've described, then let me know. And more importantly, what are you going to do different this year? What is going to change in the way that you are going to work this year as opposed to what happened last year? Because what happened last year, you can't do anything about it right now, but you can surely change how you go forward. All right, then. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, then do like it. If you like it, kind of watch the previous one to this, where I talked about not carrying other people's risks. I think you would find it extremely important. Perhaps it might even show up on the final play card on YouTube. Okay, then. Talk to you soon and see you later. Bye.